Hello there YouTube, I'm the Lon Chaney reviewer, and welcome to Silent Film Saturday. This is episode number 6, and on today's show I'm going to be discussing the 1927 Lon Chaney moneymaker that might be racist, Mr. Wu. Now, as you guys can see, you're probably rolling your eyes already, because as you can see, this is the Warner Archive, which means no supplemental features, no chapter stops except for every 10 minutes, and the picture quality could potentially be better. And I would like some bonus features, but the fact that this film is on DVD is cool, but is it one that you need in your collection? Well, that depends who you are, and I'm going to talk about that later. First off, I do like the fact that for these Warner Archive releases, they do use original promotional materials as the covers, and I do love this artwork. I don't know, for some reason I love Chaney as Mr. Wu because he just gives such a commanding presence, and I will talk more about that later, but let's look at the reverse end of this package. Okay, as you can see, this is the back end of the package. Down here we have the running time, which is about 90 minutes. The credits, which include a musical score by Maria Newman, which I will talk about that in a minute because it's interesting. And we have two images of Chaney, one of him as a young man, the grandson of the man on the right, and that's in the beginning of the film. And on the right, he plays an older Wu, grandfather Wu, and in that position, he's about 100 years old, and he does a very good job of it. So, and like I said, there's no supplemental features, there's just a description of the film on the back, musical score, chapter stops every 10 minutes, no real cool main menu like it should, and that's about it. So let's go back to the front. Alright, so the main gist of the plot goes like this. You have Grandfather Wu, played by Chaney in 80s makeup, and Mandarin Wu, played by a younger child actor who will later be portrayed by the great Lon Chaney. And Grandfather Wu wants to teach Mandarin Wu the ways of the West, so he gets John Muir to do that. However, Grandfather Wu wants Mandarin to keep the ways of the East with him always. Flashback to several years later, probably about 20, we have Grandfather Wu in his deathbed at the age of 100, and we have Mandarin Wu saying he'll continue the dynasty with the ways of the East. Shortly thereafter, Shortly after that, Mandarin Wu's wife dies, and she only gave birth to a daughter, and Chaney promises that she'll be a daughter and a son to him. Cut back to years later, we have Chaney as a middle-aged Mandarin Wu, and we have the daughter, Nan Ping, played by Renee Adore, and she is arranged to get married to another influential Chinese man, but she does not know this gentleman. She meets a guy by the name of Basil Gregory, whom she falls in love with, but it's against everything her father had set up. And the film has a revenge angle that goes on to the film's third act, which I will not spoil to you because I am a nice guy. Let's talk about the pros to this film. First off, of course, you have Chaney's performance. I am very in love with this performance by Chaney. I don't know why. I think it's because, he gives a commanding performance in a lot of his films, but it just seems like in this film, he has the room. Like, when he's on screen, he is in command, and you feel Mr. Wu is in command of everyone's destiny. That's the type of performance Chaney gives in this film, a very commanding, very strong performance. And you would see him as a harsh, radical believer in some sort of beliefs. Now, he also does a great performance as the older Grandfather Wu in 80s makeup and 100-year-old makeup. And both of those makeups are fairly convincing, considering the fact that this is a Caucasian actor playing an Asian. So, that works very well. I just don't think Chaney's makeup when he's a young Mandarin Wu, a younger Mandarin Wu, works out very well. It's the least convincing makeup in the entire film that's done by Chaney, and that is probably one of the weaker elements to this film. But Chaney's performance when he's a middle-aged Mandarin Wu is quite impressive. So don't let that distract you. I've been talking about Chaney playing an Asian when he's actually a Caucasian. How do I feel about that? Well, here's the thing with that. You have to accept it because would this film be of any relevance if it didn't have Lon Chaney? Just think about that for a minute. If they had an Asian actor, now there weren't, I'm not saying there were no Asian actors in the silent era, there were, but would that film still gross $1 million like this film did? This film was a big moneymaker when it came out. It got mixed reviews, but it made money, and that's a good thing for MGM and Lon Chaney, proving that he is a box office attraction. And in terms of that, I'm not saying the portrayal of Asians is forward, but you have to realize Chaney is doing the best he can as an Asian. I mean, he's a Caucasian actor playing an Asian. You got to give him some credit for trying, and I think he gives a commanding performance. I don't look at him as a Chinese. I just look at the story as two different cultures clash, and Chaney's beliefs as a character are challenged, and he doesn't like that. That's the way I look at this film. Now we have Renee Aldore plays Nan Ping, and she looks Asian enough. She works for the film. She was a French actress, if I'm not mistaken. So, considering that, I think she works. Does she give the best performance? I don't really care about her character that much. What's really important is how tragic it is for Chaney to deal with the fact that his daughter is in love with a white man. Basil Gregory, played by Ralph Forbes. And, well, he's pretty typical. He's pretty average. He's almost mediocre. Like, it's not a terrible performance, it just works. Like, Chaney and the set design are the best elements of this film, which makes me think of the most famous Lon Chaney film, Phantom of the Opera, where he is literally a one-man show. Who else is in this film? Louise Dresser, who plays Basil Gregory's mother. She's an Academy Award-nominated actress, and I think she gives a very good performance in this film. I mean, when she's on screen at the third act, she works very well, and you do get the sense she loves her family, and she doesn't want anything to happen to them. So, her performance works very well, in my opinion. You have the set design done by Richard Day and Cedric Gibbons, and they were multi-Oscar winners. So, just saying, the set design in this works out very well. The other performance I want to talk about is Anna May Wong, who I've seen her in Thief of Baghdad, and she's kind of Nan Ping's friend or attendant or servant, and she's gorgeous in this film, in my opinion. Whenever she's on screen, I can't take my eyes off of her. Very attractive human being. I know that sounds like a very cold thing to say, but that's how I feel. And her performance works out in this film. You know, she cares for Nan Ping, but she doesn't want to see her get into too much trouble. And it works out very well. Now, the other Chinese characters are played by Chinese actors or Asian actors, and their performance is stereotypical. You know, there's like the servants and the strict customs and all that sort of junk. But at the end of the day, you have to realize this is a film from 1927, not a 2013 motion picture. If this was a 2013 motion picture, I think I'd be writing this film up and down with issues. However, as it is, it's a decent Lon Chaney film. It's not great, it's not phenomenal, it's good. It's good for the elements that it has, such as Chaney's performance, Anna May Wong, Louise Dresser, and the set design. However, the rushed love romance isn't that believable. Some of the performances are just Like, for example, Louise Dresser's husband in the film, I forget the actor's name, but he just comes off as, oh yeah, this guy's obviously the jerk. He's a jerk that just doesn't care for anything that's different from his own customs. This is a British guy, I guess, or an American. And it's kind of phony and over the top. So, would I recommend this to someone who is just starting out with silent films? I would not. Reason for that being the stereotypes. I think they would have to watch enough silent films to understand that is how those films rolled.
And they need to understand that stereotypes were very common in the silent era, excuse me. And as a Chaney fan, do I recommend getting this DVD? No. Check it out on TCM. It's got the same score. Oh, that's the other thing I forgot to mention. The music for this film. The music is a half and half sort of deal. Like the strings in this orchestral score by Maria Newman work very well in certain dramatic moments. And there's the clarinet that's the worst part of this film, because certain moments it just blows when it goes off, and it's just so grating to the ear. And I think that might be the reason why I don't look upon this film as highly as other Chaney films, is because of the score. And it's a perfect example of how important a music score is to a silent film. But regardless, I've heard worse scores, but in comparison to the others, it's not fantastic. Another element I like to mention, there was a scene that I really liked. It was a prison bars. And those prison bars are bamboo, and it works out very well because it's in front of the romantic couple, and it works as a piece of imagery. And it's not subtle, but it works out for the film's advantage. So that's basically all I have to say about this film. At the end, like I said earlier, just if you check this on TCM, record it. I'd say give it a watch. This was the second or third viewing I've had of this film. And I've always liked it. It's just not in my top 5 favorite Chaney films. But I love Chaney's command in the film. He's just he gives a very commanding presence, and you feel that his character can do anything and can control your destiny. So, thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. Next week, I'm going to be reviewing the 1928 Oscar winner, Charlie Chaplin's The Circus. Stay tuned, guys. I'll check you all out later.
Hello there, folks. I just want to thank Mr. Jim Peffley for recommending that I should review Mr. Wu. Now, if you want to recommend a silent film to me, or think I should review a certain silent film, please personal message me or comment on my YouTube, maybe comment on my Facebook whenever I have a new status, or post on my wall even. I love that. But, there's going to be limited wiggle room because I have the entire schedule set up until early July. But there is some wiggle room, and I might change one or two things, but there are certain things I will not change, and I think you guys are going to be excited with those things I'm not going to change. So, hope you guys are having a really good day, because I am recording this episode. So, I'll see you guys next Saturday on Silent Film Saturday when I review The Circus by Charlie Chaplin. Thank you.